Greetings, my friends, and welcome to another edition of Serving the Valley, a chance for you, the viewer, to learn about some outstanding service organizations that are right here in the Cedar Valley. It's our hope that you'll learn about this organization and hopefully get involved and help make our community a better place for all who live here. Joining me here in our first segment with Love Inc., we have Holly Hartley and Grace Cole. Thank you so much, and I'm excited. I know some about Love Inc., but I'm excited to learn more. And why don't we just start by talking about what Love Inc. is?
Okay. First off, Love Inc. is a local affiliate of a national organization. And Love Inc. stands for Love in the Name of Christ of the Cedar Valley is our local affiliate. And we are a nonprofit organization that helps to link churches working across denominational lines to serve the needs of the community that we live in.
And it's an outstanding idea because churches are doing so many good things, but to get it all linked together, to have a place for that is very important.
Absolutely, yes.
And when you look at Grace, how do people in the community in need get access? Because, you know, maybe my neighbor needs some assistance. How do they get access to Love Inc. and everything that's going on with your organization?
The foundation of every Love Inc. affiliate is the clearinghouse. And so our clearinghouse receives calls for assistance Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings from 9 to noon. And the initial call is answered by a receptionist, and the initial need is indicated. And then the calls are returned by trained volunteers who go through a lengthier intake process to really help identify the needs and start to connect the need with the church.
And you can see the information on your screen. Love Inc., Love in the Name of Christ, and the phone number, the address, of course the Facebook, and the email address as well. And really, you're talking about serving the Cedar Valley. It's not just Cedar Falls, it's not just Waterloo?
It's Cedar Falls, Waterloo, and Evansdale.
Great. Great. So talk about that intake process you were explaining a little bit about. What happens through there?
Well, what makes Love Inc. different than other organizations is that we really care about the person and the story behind the need, not just the physical need itself. And so in that intake process, our volunteers will spend anywhere from 20 minutes to up to 2 hours, if need be, on the phone with the clients, just really helping identify the needs, but also listening to the story and what's behind it. And so we do spend the time gathering the specific information we need, but more than that, we just spend the time starting to build a relationship so we can start to address what's behind the reason for the need and the call in the first place. And so it's just a very empathetic, compassionate environment in which people are allowed to really share themselves and start to open up.
Outstanding. I mean, it's one thing to offer a service, but being able just to listen to someone's story and to help out, I'm assuming both of you would agree it's a rewarding experience to be a part of.
Absolutely, and I think that that's what makes us special too, is in helping us partner with our churches, is the fact that we give the opportunity for fellow Christians, for them to have a face-to-face, if you would, a relationship with the various families that we serve. And through that, they are mirroring that love of Christ to somebody that in that time is just needing a safe place to land.
Outstanding. And I'm sure each situation's a little different too.
Every situation is different, and so we really do take the time to hear and meet each person where they're at and start to figure out how we can help come alongside in their situation and walk with them and help them solve their own problems in many cases, and just kind of be that support and extra little bit of help.
Well, Grace, let's talk about some of these resources. Many people in the Cedar Valley need some type of assistance. What are some examples of some resources that Love Inc. provides?
We do, we call them gap ministries because they help fill in where other agencies may not have full funding or may not be able to meet that need. So we call them gap ministries. And we have a wide variety of gap ministries. We actually have a pretty lengthy list. Anything from food and household essentials and personal care items to baby supplies for infants up to 24 months, to gas cards and bus pass assistance, to financial assistance in certain criteria situations, to transportation to appointments, to yard work, to snow removal, to just deliveries, furniture. It's a wide variety, and really there is no need we really won't look at and see if we can't some way help or at least connect those with the resources that can help them.
And that's an interesting point. There's no need you won't look at. And I'm sure when Love Inc. started several years back, it's, okay, the mission's there, but the list of needs might have been 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. Now over 30 different needs or even more of ways that you're helping out community members, because there's so much different needs out there.
Well, and because we are mobilizing the churches, because we are the body of Christ coming together, working together, we can accomplish more together, and we can look at that wider variety of needs than organizations that may be limited with funding or criteria or limitations in any way, shape, or form. So we get to address kind of all the weird ones, which is what we love to do, and really delve into those as well.
And again, you can see on the screen there the mission statement for Love Inc., how to get involved. And maybe you need a service, maybe it is your neighbor, maybe it's a relative, maybe it's someone in your church. There is an organization out here that can help you with it. And, you know, hearing some of these resources, I know of other different places that offer it. Why is Love Inc. unique in a one-stop shop for all these resources?
Part of it is that idea that we fill in the gap, because no organization is designed to meet all needs 100% of the time. But more than that, we look beyond that. We're not just looking at the physical need that's in front of us and what's being brought to our plate that day. We're looking at what's behind it and how we can support the person on a longer term situation to get them to a place of more self-sufficiency and kind of getting out of a cycle. Because we're more about the relationships and the building of those, because in the end it's relationships that really make the difference than just trying to meet a physical need.
Quick fixes are good, giving a ride to the airport or something, but sustaining over a long period of time.
Absolutely, and that's the thing that until you really get into build these relationships, you understand with each unique household, individual's life circumstances, those circumstances that kind of contribute to that cycle for those families that fall into that, they're very complex. And so you can only really begin to identify them is through multiple conversations and asking those kind of questions. So what we find also is that a lot of the families that are coming to us and individuals, they might have a physical need, but just as importantly, they are also having a deficit in that emotional or even spiritual need. That's what we can bring to the table and address and pray through and talk through, and along with those physical basic needs.
And again, how many churches involved with Love Inc.?
So we currently, in our service area of Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and Evansdale, we currently have 21 partner churches that are representing a varied denominational background, but really are committed to and believing that we can accomplish more as a unified body, and really to be able to impact our community's lives through that unity.
It's very rewarding, and we're just getting the tip of the iceberg right now. There's a lot more to come. We'll take a quick commercial break, but more just about Love Inc. here in serving the Cedar Valley, and a great organization that needs your help to continue the great work that it's doing. Back with segment 2 right after this here on Serving the Valley.
Are you tired of wondering what you'll find when you open your cable bill each month? We don't think it should be a surprise. Switch to CFU Cable and Internet Service for the best value every day for every customer. CFU Cable brings you a huge HD lineup, and our all-fiber internet connection is always fast. You get reliable service and friendly local support. Call 268-5283 for free installation today from CFU, where every customer gets a great price.
Welcome back to Serving the Valley. Eric Braley here. It's a new television series produced by Cedar Falls Community Television where you, the viewer, gets a chance to learn about some outstanding service organizations that need your help, whether it's fiscally, whether it's giving of your time or giving of your talents. And today's focus of our program is Love Inc. It's been around for a while, and it's partnering about 21 different churches in the Cedar Valley and really doing some outstanding work in our community. Joining me here, we have Carolyn Clare and Grace Cole again. And Grace, before I talk to Carolyn, again, it sounds like you're extremely busy with the amount of phone calls. Just take us through that process, and is it someone maybe you help just one time, or how is that relationship built?
We are extremely busy, and our call volume has just kept rising. We do see repeat clients as well as many new just circumstantial families in need, and so we start to identify that through our interactions. But for those that we're seeing on a more long-term basis and where we've really started to build some good relationships with them, we are getting them transferred over to what we call our transformation program, because Love Inc. is about the hand up and helping break a cycle, and we don't want to keep people where they're at. And so for those who we are seeing on a more regular basis, we are getting them plugged into our transformational program to help them start to develop the skills to no longer need us. That's kind of the goal. I would love it if I don't hear from some clients anymore,
Sure.
just because that means they're doing well.
And Carolyn, transformational ministry, I know this is something that you have been a part of for a long time with Love Inc. It's so important, isn't it?
So important, yes.
Talk about, for someone who just doesn't know much about transformational ministry, what it is and how Love Inc. helps with that.
Well, I think in a short phrase, it might be giving a hand up instead of continually handing out, because we know that sometimes that doesn't solve the problems for them. And so we're trying to, in different ways, to give them that hand up and to have people alongside who are encouraging them, telling them they can do it, holding them accountable to some of the principles that we believe in, and we're doing that through classes.
And talk about maybe some of the classes, because education is vitally important when you are trying to transform a lifestyle.
We started out very small, and this last winter we were able to hold 3 classes in one session. And we had a very basic budgeting class, and we had a parenting class, and then a Bible study that had some emotional health kind of things involved in it. And we were excited about the relational assistance that we had, the instructors that were working with them, and it was a great time. And this summer we're doing just a mini course of 6 sessions in cooking and nutrition.
Great.
And this has been an awesome time as well.
Wonderful. Again, we're talking with Love Inc. here in the Cedar Valley. It's an outstanding service organization that partners 21 churches, and together, under the umbrella of Love Inc., finding ways to help out people that are in need here in the Cedar Valley. You can see the contact information. Lots of ways to get a hold of Love Inc., whether it's through an email, a phone call, stopping by, an address, or also on Facebook as well. And Carolyn, it has to be rewarding for you to see this project come to fruition. Take us to the very beginning, where it all began and how far it's come over the last several years.
When I first heard about Love Inc., I was so impressed by a video that I saw, that there was a mentor with a couple who were having financial problems, and he said, I don't care how you got here, I just want to help you get out. And he walked alongside them, and I think that is so important, that we see them just as valuable people and encourage them along the way. And so now we're hearing some of those stories as well, that, this was so meaningful. Last night I took someone home and they said, it was really good to learn about the nutritional aspects of food. Or the budgeting class this winter, they would say, I learned so much about how to budget my money and that I need to save and those kinds of things. So it is just exciting each time.
Talk about your role, though. Fall 2008, I know that you actively involved with getting this initiative.
We started a development committee in 2008, and that was a process, and we hired Holly in 2010, so she's been a part of that, and we gradually, been able to hire Grace and just grow our churches, and it's been so exciting. And now we'll continue to grow our transformation ministry, and a very rewarding time.
Especially seeing someone who was in need and now their life is completely better off because of Love Inc. Wonderful. Any specific examples? I know we talked about the cooking classes, the budgeting classes. Anything else that you can think of, or just stepping back away from the situation, saying that this is a really neat thing that we're doing here?
I just think seeing the whole picture, and the need is so great, and just learning to accept people as they are, and just watch them. We've had love stories that people have shared about what it's meant to have people reach out to them with some physical things, and then to encourage them along the way with the classes, and it just, the whole package is really exciting.
How about for you?
Michael always sticks with me. He was a client of ours in my first 3 months when I was still kind of getting thrown into all this as well and finding out and learning what we were doing. He called us the week before Christmas and really had nothing. He was on his own, had nothing, and was needing a lot of support. And in that initial call, given the time of the year and the resources that had already gone out and then what we had available, there wasn't much we could do for him at that very first call. But in the intake, it was identified he was just feeling very alone and very like no one cared, especially given the time of year it was. And we discovered that his birthday had been 2 weeks before. And while we couldn't immediately assist him and meet his and try to come alongside and meet his needs, which we were able to do later, but in that moment, all we could do, we put him on speakerphone and we sang him happy birthday. And to just hear him break down in tears and to say, that was what I needed. I just needed someone to care. He said, the rest of the stuff will work out. I just needed someone to care. That's when it hit home for me that this is important. And it's not just about the physical need. It is about the person and about caring. And so Michael will always stick with me.
That's outstanding, and I'm sure there's hundreds of other stories, and we thank you for stopping by, and we thank you for doing this organization to help out the community, because it is vitally important. Again, we need you to give of your time, give of your money, and help Love Inc. continue to do so many positive things for the Cedar Valley. We'll be back with a final segment to hear more about Love Inc. You're watching Serving the Valley right here on Channel 15, Cedar Falls Community Television.
Dear CFU, recently we had a home energy audit through your House Calls program. The audit gave us information we needed to make good decisions, and your rebates helped us upgrade our insulation air conditioner and furnace. Our thanks to everyone at CFU. Without exception, your employees were helpful, friendly, and efficient. We feel lucky to live in a city with a utility service the caliber of CFU.
Cedar Falls Utilities. Our family serving your family.
Welcome back to our final segment here on Serving the Valley. This whole show is devoted to Love Inc. Maybe you've seen them out in the community, maybe you've heard about them, but hopefully this 30-minute show is giving you more detailed information on what you can do to help out the outstanding staff and churches involved with Love Inc. here in the Cedar Valley. Joining me on the set here once again, we have Holly Hartley, the Executive Director, and Jesse Tink, who is with Prairie Lakes Church, a pastor there. You're also a board member with Love Inc. And talking about 21 different churches involved, that's a pretty special thing, and not every community has something like this.
No, it's very unique, and I've grown up in the Cedar Valley for most of my life, and I can't remember another organization that was able to bring effectively so many churches together.
Yeah, and it's great when they can partner with each other to help out the overall community. But individually, have you seen that benefit your church?
Sure. Well, our church, Prairie Lakes in Waterloo, I would imagine, like most churches, has a budget for what we call benevolence. So people always come to churches needing some sort of financial assistance or help or whatever, and different churches approach it in different ways. But I think one thing that's common for all of us is we often wonder how effective we're being as we use those funds, and are we tracking who's using them, and do we have any sort of relationship with them? Is there any sort of follow-up? And it's always difficult for churches to kind of keep up with that, with all the other ministry that goes on. So one of the ways Love Inc. has really helped us is they've essentially taken some of that responsibility from us and for us, and we're able to partner with them by referring people that access Prairie Lakes for support to Love Inc. And Love Inc. has just some wonderful, robust ways of tracking clients and building relationships with them and ensuring that they're being cared for holistically.
Again, a pastor of a mission-based church, and we talk about mobilizing your flock. Having Love Inc. there is a great resource.
Yeah, it's been huge for us. Most of the larger churches in the Cedar Valley are located in just kind of developing areas, suburban areas, and most of the needs in the Cedar Valley are not there. They're in locations that are a little bit different. And my church is kind of unique because we're located closer to some of those areas, but for a lot of us, there's just a gap between the world that a lot of our churchgoers live in and then a lot of our people that we're trying to reach live in. And so Love Inc. Provides this beautiful bridge between two worlds. And for us, it's really helped our people take a step from the world that they're used to and a step into a different world, but not a step down, a step across, to build relationships with people as people, not necessarily just as needs, but as people. So Love Inc. has been wonderful for us in that regard.
It definitely sounds like so many benefits, not only for the people you're helping, but for you as a pastor and for your church member as well. And my church, I know, is one of the 21 members, and I know it's good to know when your money is going towards something that is benefiting, and as I'm sure people in your congregation feel the same way.
Absolutely. We can say, and I can say with a clear conscience, that you can give because I know how this is being used. And it's not used, like we've mentioned before, it's not used to simply help a person in need materially. It's really being used to help them holistically, so you can really feel good about it.
You talk about mobilizing the church. What does this look like?
So what that is helping us to reach out to churches that are interested in, because this is what we found, especially because, as Carolyn mentioned, we started off with 7 partner churches and we've grown to 21. And the more that we broaden our network, the better, the closer we are truly representing the body of Christ, because just as each person has those unique gifts and talents, that is represented in our partner churches. So every church that partners with us brings a unique characteristic that we might not have had, and Jesse was pointing to. So we do have some of the churches that are our larger churches, and they have certain resources and gifts. And then what we find just as valuable in situations like with Jesse's church in the Waterloo with the smaller churches, what we tend to find there is that they have more of a connection to the people that we are serving. So they kind of get it, and they're already either living partially within that community and can relate to. So they are our go-tos for when Carolyn was talking about our relationship volunteers and stuff. So what Love Inc.'s role is really is not only bringing those churches together, but then we kind of oversee where are we, you know, running a little short on some of these areas of gifts and talents and resources, and how can we identify those in some new partner churches. So it's really has not only benefits us, but the people that are volunteering are coming from the churches.
Sure.
And that is really where their eyes, I mean, the Holy Spirit is really, you know, opening their eyes to a way that they never would have seen this perspective unless they kind of took that step of obedience into the trenches, as we kind of say. Yep. They're active participants in us ministering to. That's what we really like to talk about, is ministering to the folks that we're serving. So it happens from the first time that we say hello to them all the way to the time we're sending them to our churches for those physical needs as well as the classes and such.
And it's obvious you're both passionate. Everyone we've had up here is passionate about this. Someone's watching this, what opportunities are available for them?
Yeah, so as I kind of spoke to at the beginning, you know, we are a nonprofit. We also have made an active choice to trust God. And for that, that's the resources that are within His body. And so it's exclusively private. We are privately funded, whether that's through our partner church relationships or our individuals or businesses. And so the best way is to contact us if you were interested in helping us financially support our ministry.
You can see the contact information on the screen there.
Absolutely. But just as importantly is, and probably what might be harder for us to gather, is the resource of the gifts of the people that are out there, our fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. Because giving of your time is really where the real difference is happening. It's with relationships, and whether that happens on that first phone call in our clearinghouse, or you know, driving a truck and to a bed to deliver to a family that has been sleeping on the floor, to Iowa's terrible winters and helping our elderly keep their walks clear. We just have an amazing already library of love stories that we could see. That's why we're passionate about it, is because we have seen God's love transform, whether it's just a one-time phone call or for some of the families that we are getting to know on a longer term basis. And so these are ways that we need to continue for us to be able to continue to reach out to these families. We need to continue to bring in more of these resources, and people are resources. People
are. I think the number one volunteer need we probably have are people who are willing to show up.
Yeah.
People who are willing to say no to the busyness of their calendar and everything else, and are willing to go make a furniture delivery, or go do some simple home maintenance, or sit and listen, or mentor someone, or teach a class, or just someone who's willing to say no to the busyness of life and yes to someone else.
Again, Serving the Valley, we're talking about making our community a better place for all. Love Inc. definitely doing its part as an organization. It's going to be around for a while. I mean, you can definitely tell that it continues to build year after year. 21 churches in the Cedar Valley. Why are you excited about the future of Love Inc.?
I'm excited because I don't see any other organization, and there's a lot of wonderful organizations in Cedar Valley that do something similar. I just don't see any other organization that fills the type of niche that Love Inc. fills. I don't see any organization as good of a bridge between the two different worlds that are the Cedar Valley. And I don't see any other organization that is as uniquely positioned to get churches all across the spectrum. Without any sort of denominational infighting or making something less than the main thing the main thing. They just are so uniquely positioned to continue to grow, and I think it's something that our community has needed for a very long time.
Well, Jesse, we appreciate you coming by and all that you do for Love Inc. And same to you, Holly. I really enjoyed learning more about your organization, and it'll be fun to watch it continue to grow and continue to be a very great service for our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Make sure to tune in for future shows of Serving the Valley to see what you can do to help make this a better Cedar Valley for your neighbors, for your family, and for all who live here. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Serving the Valley.